What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. And this video, I want to talk about Uncharted 4 and Neil Druckmann. Kind of have a discussion with those two things, if the game actually could have been better without him. I've wanted to make Uncharted videos for a very, very long time on the channel. It's my favorite franchise of all time. Uncharted 4 is my favorite game of all time. So I've really wanted to do it. I've made a few videos. You guys have really, really liked them. And I keep getting questions to make more Uncharted videos. So I do. I want to start this ongoing series. I want to talk about past Uncharted games. I want to talk about future Uncharted games. I've talked about the Uncharted movie, and I will continue to do that as well. So a big Uncharted fan here. If you guys are into that, make sure, as always, you're subscribed, have that bell icon turned on, because I do want to make these videos every couple of weeks, just talk about Uncharted and go from there. I think we will eventually get a new game, so on and so on. And really, really fast, to kind of add on to that, I do have a second channel. I've mentioned it in the past on this channel before. It'll be in the description below. If you guys want to check it out, subscribe there. It's basically an addition to Podcast Now. I talk more about games, more about movies over there. So if you guys like what you see here, you get more of it there. I would really appreciate you guys checking that out. So, this is pretty controversial. Honestly, I kind of came up with this idea when I was thinking of The Last of Us Part 2. I was thinking, what are some things that I can talk about Uncharted related? And I thought, well, what's the hot topic on everybody's mind right now is The Last of Us Part 2 and Neil Druckmann. And so, firstly, no spoilers for Last of Us Part 2 from me, and also don't post it in the comments, okay? That's just a thing I want to stress out. But that brought me to this, because what I see a lot of online is people going after Neil Druckmann. And again, I'm not here to judge you if you hate the leaks and you go after him because of that, or you liked it, or you start giving him change. Wherever you stand on Neil Druckmann, I'm not really going to take, I'm going to kind of go through all the different paths, basically, in this video, but I'm not necessarily going to take a side. So people have, with what's going on the internet, people have attacked him, and people have also attacked the past things he's done. And now we are starting to see stories come out and people talking about, well, Uncharted 4 was this and that, and he ruined Amy Hennig's vision, all this kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, well, what better way to start my Uncharted coverage on the channel than a very controversial topic? And listen, I'm replaying Uncharted 4 actually right now. I'm on chapter, I think, 9 out of 22, so I'm a little bit less than halfway done with this game, but I obviously played it when it first came out. Loved the game. Again, I say it truly is my favorite game of all time. And Uncharted as a franchise is my favorite franchise of all time. When talking about what Neil Druckmann did and what he has done now, what I've always said is, okay, look, you can attack him all you want. In fact, when Last of Us comes out, everybody gets their hands on it, and people either fully make their decision, or again, even if you've made your decision already, people are going to attack him, people are going to defend him. He's going to have his fans, and he's going to have his critics, but I don't really find it, a good idea to kind of go back and say, well, you know what? Let's look at Uncharted. Like, he messed that up too, because flat out, I just don't agree. Now, the question I'm posing here is something that I thought would be kind of more fun, because, again, in my opinion, I love Uncharted 4. I think it's the best Uncharted game by a lot. People will always debate, is 2 the better one? Is 3 the better one? Now, I've always said 3. I actually do like 3 more than 2. I think when it honestly comes to 4, I don't know how 4 isn't better than 2 and 3 to a lot of people. Now, at the same time, I will give you this, and here's where it comes to Neil Druckmann. The reason, in my opinion, there's a lot of reasons Uncharted 4 is so good, but some smaller things that make it really good that, when it comes to like Uncharted 2 and 3, they're limited by the console, right? They're limited on when they release. Uncharted 4, obviously, it had a lot more to work with than those games. So if you think about like some of my things of Uncharted 4, why I love it, that I actually kind of forgot about, but now I'm realizing as I'm replaying the game, is how it feels, how Nate moves, how the small details basically in this game are insane. They truly, truly are insane. Any gunfight, you see things just move, like the grass is moving and the bullets kind of whiz through you, and when you get knocked, you feel weight when you're punching somebody, you have weight to you and they have weight to you. All these different things, the sound, the lighting, the graphics, right? Literally just how amazing the scope and the feel of this game is. There's a lot of strengths. Now, in my opinion, I also really do like the story now, and I have said this in the past, I do feel like the base story, the hunt for Avery's treasure, basically, I guess the artifact that you're searching for, or the city that you're searching for Uncharted 4, I do feel like besides 1, it probably is the weakest. I do actually think Ram of the Pillars and Shambhala is better. I really do. At the same time, though, Uncharted 4 is kind of doing a lot of different things, and you also have to think it's kind of also just because of the age the game came out in that they're trying to use a lot of what they did in The Last of Us, and they're trying to expand the story, and it relies a lot on nostalgia, right? It plays heavily into the first 3 games that if you're a big fan of Uncharted, it's paying, it's really giving all those games so much credit, and it's paying like homage to them, right? And you don't really get that from the past games all that much, but you get it here. It's also about the characters. It's about Nate's story and Sam dragging him back in, and Elena and Sully, and how they basically the dynamics of these characters. And again, I think it's a little bit more sophisticated in 4 than the other games. Why did I say all that? Well, Neil Druckmann's the writer, okay? Now, he's like the director of it. He puts it all together, but ultimately, it's his story. And, he did that for The Last of Us. He's done that for Last of Us Part 2. He's done it for Uncharted. So, I guess what I would say is, again, to the people that say, like, he ruined Amy Hennig's, vision of it, and it was going to be this, and it was going to be so amazing, and now it's that. The only thing we can really pinpoint, because if it was Amy Hennig, all that really would change, let's say, just to make it as easy as possible on us, would be the base story. How would things change? Well, we know that the brother, Sam, would have actually been the villain. He wouldn't actually have been an ally. He would have actually been the villain. Now, that was very cool. In that very first trailer of Uncharted 4, even back then, remember when they announced it, back like with the PS4 launch, that hit me hard because I was like, firstly, I was like, oh my God, Uncharted's back. And then secondly, you hear this guy and he says like, hey, you left me to rot in jail, right? Wasn't that like one of the lines, you left me to rot in jail? But like he's back, he's seeking revenge. And people said like, who is this? They found like whoever the actor was for that character. But then obviously later on we found out, no, that was actually going to be his brother. His brother was actually going to be the villain because of whatever Nate did to him in the past. So I guess I will say, because again, I'm trying to stay in the middle. I do think the base story of Uncharted 4 could have been better without Neil Druckmann. Am I saying he ruined the game? No, I 1,000% don't think he ruined the game because, again, the hardest thing to discuss is what really would have changed. Would, again, the paying to nostalgia, would that have still been there? I think so, because it was always intended to be the last Uncharted, so you probably would have reflected on the past, but would characters have appeared? And this is maybe where I'll give it to you. Would like Cutter, would Chloe, would these characters appear? Obviously, we know Chloe, and they kind of held her back because she was going to star in Lost Legacy, right? So they had like a bigger picture in mind for it. However, they didn't even think that Chloe was going to be the main character of Lost Legacy, because remember, it was originally going to be Nate and his daughter, and then Sully and Sam. So I guess you could even say, well, they didn't actually know that Chloe was going to be the main character. They just kind of wrote her out of the game. So yes, there are things. There's definitely things in Uncharted 4 I wish they would have done more of in general. Maybe they gave us some of it in Uncharted 4. I wish they gave us more. Maybe some things that just weren't even in Uncharted 4 that I wish were there. There are definitely things. And again, I think the hunt for what the main goal is, I think it was one of the weaker ones of the whole game, of the whole franchise. But again, it wasn't, and this is just my opinion, I didn't take the whole game as that. You know what I mean? It was, again, more of like Sam's in trouble. Nate, he loves Sam, right? They've had all these adventures together, and he doesn't want to go back, but Sam got himself in trouble. Now Nate has to do it to get, to protect Sam, but then also, he's going against Elena, and Sully's trying to, keep an eye, and all these character dynamics, that I think is almost as big, if not bigger, than the story of Sean Avery, okay? So I think in that way, Neil Druckmann did a fantastic job, and we don't know, we just flat out don't know that aspect of it, what exactly would have changed if Amy Hennig would have joined. Again, if it was Amy Hennig, the base story would have been different, right? Because the brother would be, or whoever's, if it was going to be Sam, if it was going to be somebody else, his brother would have actually been the villain. But what else changes about the story? Again, although just asking the question, would the game be better off with Neil Druckmann? My initial response, when I came up with this, okay, I came up with this a few days ago, my first response was absolutely not, because the game is like a masterpiece. But then again, if you think about it, okay, well, all these different physics and the engine and how it looks and how it feels and all that stuff, well, I mean, Did Amy Hennig have stuff to do with that in the first 3 games? I'm sure. And did Neil Druckmann have something to do with that in 4? I'm sure. But they're not the ones doing that. They're not coders. They're not that. They're storytellers. They write. They direct. They're working with the actors and actresses. And again, to Neil Druckmann's credit, which I'll give him more credit, he does. I do feel like he understands these characters. Okay. And now again, maybe he had talks with Nolan North, with all these characters, and they said, okay, well, I think my character would do this in that situation. And don't forget, Neil Druckmann helped with the other games. He was part of Uncharted. I believe he was part of Uncharted 2 and 3. I don't know if he helped with 1, but he was part of 2 and 3. So it's not like he just never had been part of an Uncharted franchise before, and he was thrown in there. Same with Bruce Straley. Remember, that was his last game after The Last of Us. He made Uncharted 4, and then he left. So it's not like these characters have never done anything in the past before with Uncharted. They do know the characters. It's just this was the first time they were handed the reins and said, okay, make your own story. Now, again, what happened in the background, I don't know if he sabotaged Amy Hennig. I don't know if things happened behind the scenes where she was doing her stuff. But how does that necessarily work? Does he go to like a higher up above Amy Hennig and say, hey, I don't think her vision is good. It's not, like nobody's on board with it. I have one that I think is better, and maybe we should go with, like, how does that work? You know what I mean? People can really make it seem like he was very dirty to her. And I've seen those article headlines, I've seen those YouTube videos, but like how exactly did it happen? Again, trying to stand in the middle, because I do think in a lot of ways Uncharted 4 actually could be better with, if they swap them out. At the same time, Uncharted 2 to 3 repeated a lot of the things that 2 did. Now, again, that was because it was 2 years, right? They made Uncharted games a whole lot faster back then than they do now. So, again, like, would Amy Hennig kind of just repeat old things? Neil Druckmann did bring a breath of fresh air. Like, it was definitely a very different experience. Uncharted 4 is very, very different than any of the other Uncharteds, and it's not even because of how it feels or how it looks. It's because of the storytelling. Because remember, they took a lot of The Last of Us. They took a lot of what they learned with the environmental storytelling, with finding like notes on the ground, with talking to with like optional dialogue, all that stuff. They took a lot of that from The Last of Us. And again, those are kind of mechanics, but they write those. I mean, they write the script, they write the story. So, again, there are a lot of pros, there are a lot of cons. I think ultimately, I guess to give the benefit of the doubt both ways, I love what we got. If this was, if I guess we one day got the official script of what like Uncharted 4 would have been under Amy Hennig, that would be very cool. And then I guess we could compare it then. But as of now, I'm really happy with what we got, but I'm not opposed to the idea that it could have been better, because honestly, I do think if you swap them out, does things, radically change? Sure, they absolutely could. Does the story just, take even another step forward? Yeah, because again, I think the base story of the treasure is one of the weaker parts. Probably the weakest part of Uncharted 4, I actually think that. But again, does that change that much with Amy Hennig? Is it like a 15 to 18 hour game if it's Amy Hennig, or is it like 8 or 9 hours? Is it very linear like Uncharted? You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that could have changed that I just think we don't know, okay? So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Again, this is a pretty dicey issue. I know there's going to be fans of Neil Druckmann. There's going to be people that hate him. I get that. I completely get that. But what do you guys think? Let me know. And like I said, we're going to be talking about Uncharted a lot on this channel. I really do want to jump into this franchise. It's, again, a franchise that I haven't talked about all that much, but when I do, you guys are very receptive to it, so I definitely want to make more videos. Let me know anything you want me to talk about. Again, past games, future games, you can obviously bet that when new news on Uncharted comes out, I'll absolutely cover it, okay? So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, have that bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next video.